Good morning to everyone. Thank you for being here. Just a short introduction of what Enetwild is. Enetwild is a consortium that in 2016 replied to the EFSA tender because EFSA wanted to know data on wildlife population that can transmit animal disease agent, and the important things is they want to collect and to share data. So it is a step forward respect what they do in the past. They recognize there is the need to wild animal data on distribution, on density, and so I asked for someone that can do this, and this is the Enetwild Consortium. We have created the consortium. We have done several things. Amongst the other, we have a sibling website, and it is the one of the European Observatory of Wildlife. I believe that Massimo will explain this better. But it is a network of observation point because we don't only have to collect data, but we have to create data, to validate data, and field data are what we need in order to really know what is happening all across Europe. And it is the observatory and a fact that involve many institutions, many countries, and many collaborators, many study areas all across Europe, even if we lack, but I believe we will solve the problem in some part. For example, in the north, we are very few area, but thanks to your collaboration, probably we will solve also this problem. Our aim is to develop system that can facilitate the collection and analysis of data from the field, and we have done a lot of training course in the past, but the aim is to generate data on wild ungulates, but not only for the future. On density of the animal, we can compare data from our point from the observatory with data from hunting bags, for example, and it will be really relevant. I think everyone knows that nowadays in Europe there is the big African swine fever crisis, and our data are really of great value for the epidemiologists that are working on it. And we have moved a lot in the end of the first contract towards the side of wildlife disease because of the African swine fever virus, and even with the use of camera traps and under the request of EFSA, we evaluated also the risk of overlapping of wildlife and livestock, and the risk that bring to the presence of wild-born irregular or extensive pig breeding, and this in order to evaluate the risk of African swine fever spread from wildlife to domestic animals. Oh, what happens? Apologize, but something goes wrong. Okay, and last year the first contract was finished. ESA do a new call, and we participate, and again our consortium was the winner of the call, but we have increased it a lot. Nowadays we have moved from 16 to 27 partners and subcontractors. As you can see, we cover almost every country of Europe, and we hope we will be as good as the first part of the contract, but probably even better, I hope. And this is all our expertise. And amongst the things that EFSA asked us is the data on animals. So data on population, camera trap, synanthropic species, citizen science data, but also on disease surveillance, metagenomic, and One Health zoonosis and vector-borne zoonosis or other health issue. So we work based on contract. When EFSA have one question, they ask it to us to give them an answers, and we have specific contract. The first one was started in July, And amongst the other point, there is one that is the extend and improve the network of point of observation through camera traps all across Europe, especially for wild boar. And it is what we have done. And I believe that thanks with your helps, we can do this, and the observatory will become really a place where everyone that is working on wildlife will participate and will put data, will share data, and this will help us to really better understand what is happening. Mainly, ESA is interested in area where there is the African swine fever, or better area that are at the border with African swine fever foci, because these are information we are lacking. We have done this in Italy, and thanks to colleagues from Croatia and from Slovenia, but even from Serbia or Bulgaria, we will work on area that are at the border amongst infected and non-infected area. And so really, thanks to all of you for participating to this, and I give again the floor to Massimo.
Thank you, Ezio. I don't know why. I can't. Okay. Here. Okay, so just to add some more words about the observatory, as Ezio mentioned, the observatory is the European Observatory of Wildlife is one of the main tasks within the goals of the Enetwild consortium. So the observatory started already in 2021, and it is now coordinated by our unit in University in Sardinia. My name is Masssimo Scandura, for those of you who do not know me. And probably you were in contact with Tancredi, who is the person in our group dealing with the coordination and the management of the different participants in the observatory. As already mentioned by Ezio, the main aim of the observatory is to provide to try to constitute a network of observation sites where comparable data on presence and abundance of wildlife are collected that can be used to model species abundance, species density at a continental scale. And this is a weak point of the collection of data so far. So we try to establish observation sites in different countries that are going to use the same protocols to collect data on specific, on target species of wildlife that are of interest for sanitary aspects. So at the moment, we are focused on mammals, on wild mammals, and specifically wild ungulates and carnivores. The network is open so that anybody who is interested in collecting data that can be compared across different regions of Europe and to adopt the protocol of the observatory can join the network and establish an observation point in his or her country, or one or more, of course. The observatory, the structured organization of the observatory, can provide support to all participants with activity like this one, like a training, sharing the protocols that are continuously improved and developed, providing continuous support by email or seminars and providing the platform, IT tools, and contributing also with the dissemination of the results and the expertise achieved by the observatory through conferences, webinars, and also publication. So a specific goal is also to publish results and methods developed within the observatory. We have some documentation that is available on the website. The website of the observatory, the link is here, is continuously improved. So it's going to be improved because we had a stop and go last year because the first Enetwild project stopped and the second one started. So we have now to change something on the website. So in the observation sites we have established in the past years, we have started to apply the common protocol that is based on the random encounter model, the RAM model, developed by Rowcliffe and co-authors in 2008. But this will not be the only protocol developed by the observatory and used by the observatory. So trying to answer, to reach different goals, we will try to develop other protocols also for small mammals, for instance, or for pathogens and so on. We have common protocols, we have a common platform that is Agouti now, that is, we adopted the platform already available, but it was improved and implementing specific tools to collect the images of the cameras, to annotate the images, to manage the photos uploaded in the website, calibrate the image, and classify the species, recognize the species using also artificial intelligence tools, and estimate parameters. The network is growing, so it started with a few sites and a small number of countries, then increased. Last year, that was this stop and go year, 2023, we had still some participants continuing to collect data, but this year we are increasing in number of participants and the number of countries covered by the observatory, so we are quite satisfied. A few final words to recommend you. Those of you who have collected data in 2023, last year, we recommend to provide the final results of data analysis as soon as possible, because we have to summarize all these data, put them together, make a global analysis, and report the results to EFSA by the end of August. So in the next months, we have to put all these data together and share, of course, the results, the common results. And the second recommendation is to strictly follow the protocol, especially to the new participants. So we will share the protocol, we will clarify all the terms of the protocols, and we are available to clarify them even during the field activities. But the recommendation is to strictly follow the protocol in order to obtain data that can be usable for comparisons and also for publications. Okay. Otherwise, if the protocol is not strictly followed, we notice it. We saw with the past activities that the data cannot be used in some cases, and so it's a pity because a lot of effort will be carried out for not for nothing, but with some problems. Okay, so I leave the floor to Tancredi to start entering the details of the protocol and the field work. Please, Tancredi, think you can share your screen.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'll try. Okay, so can you actually see my full screen presentation?
Yes.
Okay, great. So good morning, everyone. I'll start just with a few technical information, and then we'll get into the actual field protocol. So the first one is about the roadmap. So what are the next steps for the EOW? So of course, first thing is the signing of the agreement proposals that some of you already did, some are about to. So this is just to officialize the collaboration and then go on with the next steps. As Massimo just mentioned, it is fundamental that the 2023 results are reported as soon as possible so that we can have the time to model them and further analyze them to produce the report, which is due to this summer. And then in May, there's going to be the equipment shipment for the cases that foresee this option. And then for June, that is the start of the potential start of the field activities, because as you will see, it's not strictly necessary that in June everyone has been starting the field activities, but that is when they could potentially start. As said, in the next months, we would like to start analyzing the data from 2023 so that the report is going to be ready for this summer. While in September, there's going to be the second training course where the data processing and analysis is going to be explained in detail. While today, as already mentioned, there's going to be just a quick overview about these two phases of the protocol. And next appointment. So we're going to have other two shorter meetings on May 8th and July 10th to have updates on, in the first case, the progress of the data analysis and the start of the campaign. And in each of these occasions, doubts and opinions can be shared and discussed. And while in July, we will share the final report with you and give you updates on how the campaign, 2024 campaign, is actually proceeding. While, as already mentioned, in September, we will have the second part of the training course, and we will share with you the actual date as soon as possible. So, well, now let's go with the actual.
Tancredi.
Yes.
Before starting, sorry, just I would like to remind and to give another recommendation that is about the agreement. So those of you who have received the agreement or is going to receive the draft of the agreement proposal, please speed up the process of signature and send back the agreement in order to speed up the development of the equipment and give you the possibility to start as soon as possible then with the activities. Just this recommendation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Massimo. Yes, that's definitely important for us because as soon we have all the network ready, let's say, we can move on with the next steps, and that's going to be easier if this is done earlier. So the field protocol will just start with a very few quick general information for the new participant, and then we will get in the details of what the protocol actually is and how it works. So as you all know, we're aiming at wild population densities, which are given by a number of individuals for a certain area. And this, of course, can be achieved with a wide range of many different methodologies, from distance sampling, genetics, aerial counts, camera trapping. And each of these methodologies has, of course, pros and cons, depending on many different factors, from target species to environments or economic availability, and many others. So in our case, as you all know, we aimed for camera traps related methods. And this choice was done due to the limited cost of these tools, which are actually requiring, of course, an initial investment, but which is then diluted by the fact that these tools can then be used for years and many different studies. So then the rest of the costs are quite limited for the use of camera traps. Then the effort is also quite limited, because once they're set up, they can work for a long time with no need for any further effort. And in general, respect to many other methodologies, the effort is also reduced by the fact that they allow to monitor many different species at the same time. And this is crucial to us, because we are not targeting a single species, but we are targeting a mammal community of all the medium to large sized mammals. And this would, in most cases, require to implement many different methodologies, while with camera traps, we can implement a single methodology that can allow us to monitor many species at the same time. And finally, they are relatively easy to use. There's no specific skill which is required in order to be able to learn how to use this tool. So all these features made the camera trap the right, let's say, tool for our tasks. So when speaking about camera trap methodologies for the estimation of wild population densities, we have two different paths we could follow, let's say. So the first one is the methodologies that actually require the individual identification of the animals. And the other one does not require this identification. So in the first case, very few species would actually be individually recognizable at their natural status, especially at this latitude. So in our case, we could be speaking about a wild cat or lynx, due to their unique fur patterns that make them individually recognizable. But other than that, many other species would be left out by this kind of capture-recapture approach. The other chance would be to mark some of the animals of a certain population, but this would, of course, increase a lot the effort required and consequently the costs of these activities. So on the other hand, the methodologies that do not require individual identification apply to most mammal species. And as said, in our case, this is fundamental. So this could be the case of fox, ungulates, as wild boar, deers, and many other species that might be target species for our data collection. So when speaking about density estimates obtained by means of camera traps of non-individually recognizable species, the most famous methodologies are the random encounter model, proposed by Rowcliffe in 2008, the random encounter and staying time, or REST, proposed by Nakashima in 2018, and the camera trap distance sampling, proposed by Howe in 2017. has to be said that all these methods share similar assumptions and have compatible experimental design. So the design that we're going to explain here could be potentially applied also to the other methodologies. And they all require to identify the position of the animal in the field of view. So, as you know, our choice was for the implementation of random encounter model. And this choice was made because it has been widely used in the last years, and it has proved to be a reliable methodology. There's many papers, also many publications proving that. Also, the one made by the colleagues Pablo, Palencia, and Joaquin, and others also participating in the observatory, where they've been analyzing all the papers using where REM was used up to 2022, and stating that this methodology actually is reliable and efficient for the purposes that we have of estimating wild population densities. So let's see the details of the random encounter model. So here you see the formula, where D, of course, stands for density. And let's see what are the elements of this formula. So the first one is the encounter rate, which is given by the number of animals detected per sampling unit. So the number of contacts that we have divided by the number of camera trap days of activity. This element, as you see from its position in the formula, is directly related with the density. So the higher this element is, the higher the density is going to be. So there's a direct relation between, of course, the number of contacts that we're going to get and the density estimate that we are going to obtain. Then V is the day range, which is basically the distance traveled by an animal during the day. So there's going to be the average distance covered by a certain species within 24 hours. And finally, R and theta are respectively radius and angle of detection of the camera trap. And day range and detection zone, on the other hand, are inversely related with density. So the higher these values are going to be, the lower the density estimate is going to result. So the study design. This is crucial for the implementation of random encounter model. And the fact that camera placement must be random with respect to animal movement is something that we're going to get back on during this presentation, but this is crucial to the actual success of this methodology. So we're going to have to stress this point and to bear in our mind the importance of it. So random sampling designs. When speaking about random sampling designs, we usually have two main solutions. The first one is a fully random design where each point is randomly placed with no relationship with the others. While the second one is a systematic random design, which basically creates a grid, a uniform and regular grid of points, where, as you can see, each point is related to the other, but then the position of the grid with respect to the study site is random. So we opted, in our case, for this second option. So we're gonna, create systematic random design with a regular grid to be positioned on our website, on our study site. So how to do that? Well, that's quite easy. You can do that using any GIS software. However, if you don't feel skilled enough to do that, you can use an extremely user-friendly app, which is called GridMaker, using which you can very easily create your grid of points. I'll just quickly show you an example on how to do that. So you basically you will have this link on the protocol, so you can find the website there. Anyway, you basically need to, you can open Google Earth, zoom to your area of interest. Up here, you can select add a polygon, and you can create your polygon, and just creating a random one. Here you will name it somehow, so like test, and now you're gonna see your study site here. You're gonna have to save it, browse to wherever you want to save it. I'll save it into downloads. You want the KML file, so make sure this is saved as a KML, and you can save it. Once you've done that, you can go to the Grid Maker website, and as soon as it loads, you here have the app info. It also gives you instructions on how to use it, but it's very straightforward. So you can browse to wherever you saved your polygon, you load it, and then it will appear within together with the map. At that point, you will just type in here how many points you want to create. So let's say 50 in this case. You can generate grid, and here you are your points. Here you have your points. When that's done, you can download your locations, and you're gonna have your CSV files with all the coordinates, latitude and longitude, for all the points. So you're gonna be ready to upload them in GIS or on your GPS to go to the field and start activities. So this was, yes, about how to create the grid of points. So how many deployments? Because of course, to create the grid of points, you must first know how many camera points you want for your study site. So as a general rule, the more the better, because a higher number of deployments are going to ensure a higher precision of the estimates. Of course, not everyone has unlimited number of cameras available, so 36 was set as minimum number of deployments to obtain reliable estimates. However, as you can see here from this graph, which was taken from the paper I mentioned before, from Palencia and others, here you can see how the coefficient of variation, therefore the precision of the density estimates, changes with respect to the number of camera trap placements. So a higher coefficient of variation means a lower precision. So the lower the coefficient of variation is, the higher the precision is. And 0.2, as you see by the dotted line, is considered a good precision level that can be actually used for management purposes and so on. So here you see how this precision changes for two different populations, where K basically is a value that explain how grouped, so how clustered population is. So the lower K is, the more clustered the population is. So the lighter line describes how the precision changes for a very clustered population, so that they have a group spatial behavior, while the darker one explains how the precision changes for not very grouped population. So as you can see there, if the population is not very clustered, the precision is going to be good even if the number of deployments is not so high. In fact, if you see where 36 lies, more or less, you're going to see that for not very clustered population, the precision levels are going to be very good. While on the other hand, if the population has a clustered spatial behavior with 36 deployments, the expected coefficient of variation rate is about 0.4, so 40%. So in order to make ourselves safe with respect to the spatial behavior of the population, if we can get to a higher number of deployments, up to 60, that would be ideal in order to make sure that we're going to have the best possible precision for our density estimates. So clearly, the many collaborators are not going to have enough cameras to cover all the necessary points at the same time. So in that case, more sessions are going to be implemented. So as a general rule, as I said, the priority is to have a high number of deployments because that's going to ensure higher precision. However, as if you have enough cameras, the least number of sessions is going to be better because that's going to reduce the efforts and increase the precision. But the priority is to have a higher number of camera placements. So if you need to do 2, 3, or 4 sessions in order to get to a higher number of deployments, 40, 50, or 60, then that's going to be the right choice. So as you can see here in this example, which is from a study site we have here in Tuscany, where 40 camera points were deployed in 2 sessions of 20, using 20 camera per each session. As you can see, each session shown by green dots and red dots is uniformly spread over the study site. So this means you can't actually first monitor the northern part and then the southern part, but we want each session to uniformly cover the whole study site. This is very important. And how long should each deployment last? So the minimum duration for each deployment is 4 weeks. So each camera should actually be active for 4 weeks for each camera placement. And however, this is not like if you are then able to keep them for 6 weeks, then it's even better because that would allow to get more activations, more data, more pictures for more elusive species, which might then allow us to get density estimates for those species as well. And these 4 weeks or 6 weeks doesn't have to be exactly the same number of days for each deployment. So you're not going to have to wait for the exact day to get to the completion of the 4th week or the 6th week. 1, 2 days, few days difference from one deployment to another are not going to influence the results. The period of implementation that we suggest, it goes from June to October, as we want to avoid the period of birth that would clearly influence the results. And we also would like to generally avoid the hunting season in the areas where hunting season is then going to be implemented. So for the field implementation, what camera type could you use? Well, in general, any recent camera model that takes sequences of pictures can be used. However, there's one big constraint, which is related to the camera models that have dual lens. Because these cameras are getting more and more common, because with the dual lens, basically have one lens for daytime pictures and the other one for nighttime pictures, ensuring a better quality for the nighttime pictures and reducing the noise at night of the shutters, so reducing the disturbance. However, due to some aspect that you will see later on in the presentation that Pablo is going to make, these dual lens cameras that you can recognize also by the fact that you can actually see the double lens in the camera, with respect to the classic original ones with a single lens, are considered not to be entirely compatible with the protocol, as they could actually be used, that have been used, but they will make things much more complicated, most likely reduce the number of sequences that could be used to get the parameters that we need for the density estimate. So we strongly recommend to stick to the single lens models for the implementation of the EOW protocol. As far as the rules to follow when you are in the field placing cameras, the first and probably most important one is related to the fact that you have to place your cameras as close as possible to the computer generated point. So you should try and get on the exact spot that the coordinates are pointing you to, and try and place the cameras there. So it is fundamental that we, so sometimes this might not be possible because the exact spot might not be suitable for the camera placement. In that case, we will have to find the closest possible point that is suitable for camera placement, and possibly with the same microhabitat. So this is fundamental to get to the original spot. If there is not possible to place the camera, to find the closest possible one. And keep in mind that when I speak about suitable point, I always refer to a suitable point for the camera placement. So not to what is suitable for the animals. And this is crucial. I will repeat this over and over, because this is fundamental, because we're not aiming at animal presence. Our camera placement must be random with respect to animal movements, or animal movements should be random with respect to the camera placement. So we're not aiming at good spots. So this is what we used to do when we placing cameras. We used to aim at animal presence. We want to see the animals and to record them. But in these cases, in what we are doing here, it is fundamental that it's clear to everyone that we must place cameras in the random generated points. So if this point falls in an animal path, or in front of a pond, or any spot that might be either very good or very bad for animals, then we will actually place it there. So we will have to stick to the original coordinates and not be tempted by aiming at good spots for animals, because this would inflate our density estimate and bias our results. So we are, yes, we have to find a suitable spot for the camera placement. So that might be related to the presence of a tree where to set it up, or for example, to the ground not to be particularly uneven, as this would make the approach, the implementation of the photogrammetry, which you're going to see next, much more complicated, or extremely steep grounds might be more complicated to set the camera up correctly. So yes, we should look for suitable place for the camera placement. As said, not for animals to pass by. So if the original point is not good for the camera placement, then we will look for the closest possible point within a radius of 100 meters, possibly with the same microhabitat. If the same microhabitat is not available, then we can place in the closest suitable place with in a different microhabitat. If within 100 meters radius we don't find any suitable place for placing camera, then we will skip that point and go to the next one. Vegetation removal can be done, of course, but just the minimum possible to reduce the activation of cameras by the vegetation. So we don't want to alter the habitat too much, because that would be then probably altering the animal behavior, and we absolutely don't want that. So we will have to reduce the vegetation removal to the least possible, and to the first 5 meters in front of the camera. So there we're gonna just cut the big branches that might activate the camera, or small bushes or things like this that would for sure activate the camera a lot and would fill up our memory card with many blank pictures, so empty pictures. For example, here you have the site of a camera placement where there was not so much need to remove too much vegetation, but this was reduced to the minimum. And whenever possible, place the camera facing north. This is quite important, as otherwise we would have in many cases pictures blinded by the direct sunlight towards the camera objective, and in some cases this could also trigger the camera, so it might also produce blank pictures as well. So placing the camera facing north would further reduce the risk of having false triggering and blank pictures. Finally, the cameras should be set approximately at 50 centimeters from the ground, and the line of sight should be roughly parallel to the ground. So something like this, even though you can't really see the line of sight of the camera in this picture, but this is kind of how it should look like. So we already mentioned this, but as I said, we'll repeat that, what not to do. It is crucial that we don't place cameras inside that might be preferred by the animals. So we have to stick to the regional coordinates, and if that is not okay, we will find the closest suitable point for placing the camera. So don't be tempted by aiming at a better spot for the animals with respect to the one that was originally selected, let's say, by the random design. Then baits or attractants shouldn't be used at all, because this would definitely alter our result. And the vegetation removal should be limited to the least possible. And too invasive tools like chainsaws, engine trimmers shouldn't be used. Hand tools are going to do the job perfectly, as you only going to have to take off a little grass or branches and so on. And finally, very important, to try and avoid leaving any smell. So no smoking, eating, being nearby the side of camera placement, as this could alter the animal behaviors for quite some time. And to conclude, so the camera settings, this is also extremely important, because we need some of these settings are crucial for the actual proper implementation of the protocol and for succeeding in having in obtaining results. So first of all, we want the camera to be active for 24 hours. So they're going to be active continuously from the moment you set them up to the moment you take them off. Then we want to use the picture mode with the highest possible number of pictures per activation. So we want sequences of pictures. This usually means 8 shots, but depending on the camera model you're using, you still want to set it to the maximum. It might be 6, 10, or whatever, but we want it to the maximum number of activations. Then, whenever this is available, we will set it with a burst mode or rapid fire, which is the setting that basically allows you to have, within a sequence of pictures, to have them taken with a shorter time one from another within the same activation. So this is gonna mean that the sequence is gonna be made of pictures which are taken more rapidly one from another, and this is gonna give us a higher detail of the animal movement, and you will see in the next presentation why this is important for the implementation of this protocol. We also want to set the waiting time between activation to the minimum. That might be 1 second, but that might change from one camera to another. So we want them to be continuously activated from animals being in front of the camera. So as long as an animal stands and moves in front of the camera, we want the camera to keep recording, to keep shooting shots at these animals. And of course, time and date should be stamped on the image, and the sensitivity can be set to low, because as said, we are targeting the medium to large sized mammals. So low sensitivity is going to work perfectly. And this will also avoid the too many activations of the camera for non-target species like very small animals or, for example, vegetation movement. And this clearly is important for saving our battery and our memory. The flash intensity can be regulated depending on your camera, on the flash intensity of your camera model and the camera placement. So if, for example, camera placement is with a lot of dense vegetation surrounding it in the short distance, you could set the flash intensity to low, as this will work for seeing the animals, but will avoid overexposed pictures. If, on the other hand, the camera is placed in a very open area, the flash set to a high intensity might allow us to have a better view of what is moving in the distance at night. So this could depend on camera models and actual deployments. The picture quality can be set to low, as we don't need great picture. We only need to recognize animals and their movements. And to have low picture quality, of course, is going to save us quite some memory. And that's why this is an important setting. And to conclude, whenever it's possible, it would be good to also activate the daily control feature or time lapse mode, which allows us to basically have both modes working. So we would have the motion activated sequences, but we would also have the cameras taking pictures at certain times, like midday and midnight. We would have one activation going. This is useful to understand whether at some point the camera stopped working, or it was just animals that were not passing by. If, for example, we have 5 days without any animal, without any activation, it might be that nothing was passing by, but it might also be that somehow the camera stopped working. With this mode, we would know whether is one or the other option. So this was it from my side. Of course, if there's any question, I can ask, I can try and answer them. And so let's see. Yes, I'll share the GridMaker application link.
Of course, Tancredi, we will share the presentations, the PowerPoint presentations, together with the link of the recording of this training, and we will have a final time for questions. So maybe we can. There is, I think, the coffee break now, and then we will start at 10:15.
Hey, hello. Can you hear me? Can you see my screen? Okay, thank you, Masssimo.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. So, why photogrammetry? So, as most of you probably already know, but just to start of this introduction, when we try to estimate population density of abundance from species, from unmarked species, that's it, those species in which we cannot individually identify the animals by the spot pattern or the natural or not natural mark, we need in somehow to locate the location of the individuals in the field of view of the camera. For those who are collaborating with Enetwild of the observatory from years ago, you probably remember that we used to place natural reference in the field of view of the cameras, like stones or branches or whatever, and then with this natural reference in the picture from the cameras, we estimate the location of the wild boar or birds or in general the animals in the field of view of the cameras to finally estimate population density applying random encounter models or distance sampling or any other method. But from, I think, 2 years ago, we started to use photogrammetry and we finished to use this natural reference in the field of view. So, what is photogrammetry? Photogrammetry is let's say, a technological tool to extract the information about the physical three-dimensional space captured in 2 dimensions in a picture, in an image, okay, from the camera. So, as you also probably already seen, photogrammetry is becoming a hot topic in camera trapping because it's quite useful for different objectives. We will focus today and in the observatory to estimate the location of the animals in the field of view to finally apply random encounter models. But as you can see here, a couple of recent publications, it's also useful to estimate the severity of a disease. It's also useful to estimate the size of the animals in camera trapping picture. And it's also useful, for instance, to estimate when animal traits and so on. Okay, so to apply photogrammetry, we need three three steps, which are the calibration pole to calibrate the camera. That is the individual, for instance, Browning Darks or Pro or Reconic Super 5 or whatever. I mean, the camera device, so the brand and the model. And we also need the last step is to calibrate the deployment. That is the sampling point where we place the camera in the field. So starting for the frontman, the calibration pole is something like this pole that you see here. I have one here, which is also quite simple to elaborate. So we only need a pole, whatever, plastic, metal, wood, whatever, of a length around 1 meter, preferably at least 80 centimeter a minimum. You can also work with a pole of 1.5 meters, around 1 meter, let's say. We need a spot to put the reference. I will explain later, and we will see a video. A measuring tape, a marker, and scissors. So I will show this video. I think that, I'm sure that this video is also in the observatory website, and you've probably already seen this one. So when you have your pole from wood, plastic, whatever, here we have the materials. We put reference or marks every 20 centimeters, okay? From the minimum 20 up to 1 meter in case that the pole is 1 meter length. Then in the upper limit, that is important to see here, 20, here you have the zone of 20 centimeters, 40, 60, here again. At the upper limit of 20 centimeters, we have the top of the spots. Upper limit of 40 centimeters, we have again the top. 60 centimeters, again at the top. 80 centimeters here. And finally, 1 meter again at the top. Okay. As you maybe already has also seen, we put one reference at 20 centimeters, two reference at 40 centimeters, three reference at 60 centimeters, four reference at 80 centimeters, and five reference at 1 meter. This is the reason of this putting not only one mark is quite simple. Then when we saw the picture from the camera trap, if we only put one reference at 20, 40, 50, and so on, we never know, or we probably don't know if we are seeing the reference between 20 and 40 centimeters or the reference between 40 and 50 centimeters, for instance. In this way, putting or marking one reference at 20 centimeters and two reference at 40 and so on, we always will know that two reference, if we only see two reference, we perfectly, we are sure that this is the reference of 40 centimeters, okay? So this is how we do, or how you can do the calibration pole. Then regarding the second step, this is even more simple because to calibrate the model, the device that is the brand, the camera trapping brand, and the model of, for instance, Reconic Hyper 5 or Browning Dark Pro, or whatever model are you using. Most of these models are already calibrated and implemented in Agouti. In case that you are using a new model that no one in Agouti has previously used, the observatory team will help you to calibrate the model and to introduce this information or this data in Agouti, okay? And this is also important that we only need to calibrate the camera model once. That's it. For if you are using, for instance, let's say 40, or if you have 40 cameras on a specific new model, it's only necessary to calibrate one of these cameras to upload this information to Agouti, and then you can continually work with this picture this year and the coming years. Okay. In any case, for most of you, as you also know, you already have the camera model already calibrated in Agouti. Okay, so I think this is quite simple. And the more important point, and probably also the more difficult, is to calibrate the deployment. Okay, that's it, the place in which the camera is placed on the field. At this point, and also Tancredi already mentioned something about that, but I think that is important to repeat. We need one slope only in front of the camera. For instance, in this case, you can see that the arrows represent more or less two slopes, one from the right side to the left side of the picture, and other one from the upper left side, let's say, to the bottom right side of the picture. So this is not definitely a good place to use photogrammetry because we will obtain a strong bias. Okay, so we need only one slope in front of the camera. This is a perfect example of a relative flat field of view with obviously zero slope, let's say, but we can also play cameras even in this type of slopey areas. But here again, you can see that we only have one slope from the right side to the picture to the left side. Okay, so this is a slopey sampling point or a slopey placement, but we only have one slope. So this is I mean, we can use photogrammetry in this sampling point, but we cannot use photogrammetry when we have more than one slope. Okay, and here you have another example. Okay, here again we have one slope, so we can potentially use photogrammetry. And I will use also this picture to show you that sometimes it's relative common to not visualize in the picture all the marks or of the calibration pole. So putting more than one marks as the 20 centimeters, 40 and so on, as I mentioned before, I perfectly know that here this reference represents 60 centimeters, and this reference here is 80 centimeters. Okay. If alternative, I don't put three reference here, as we cannot see the bottom of the stick, we will never know if this mark is 40 centimeters or 60 or 80 or so on. Okay. So repeating again some ideas and some recommendations from Tancredi. Okay, we already explained and saw that we need to put the camera in a placement with only one line of slope or only one slope. Then, when we have found this place, we need to set up the camera firmly. This is important because any movement in the camera from us when checking the memory card or the batteries or whatever, or any movement from the animals that sometimes move the camera, will imply that all the picture after this movement will not be useful to apply photogrammetry. Okay, so first we set up the camera filming, we check the settings, whatever, we put the security measure, whatever, and then we start to calibrate the deployment. I will show you later how to calibrate the deployment. But it is important that the camera is filming, okay? And don't move the camera after do the calibration. Okay. After set up the camera, we starting about more or less, this is approximately 1 meter in front of the camera with the pole hole in the ground, perpendicular, as you can see here, to the camera light. So, for instance, in this plot, you can see that the camera is in a sloping area, so the calibration pole is perpendicular to the ground and in consequence to the camera line. Okay, so not the pole is not in this way. It should be perpendicular to the camera line. Okay, this is also very and extremely important. Then it's also important to indicate in some way, for instance, with the hand or in any way that you then are sure that the pole is in the ground, is resting in the ground, because if not, we can have, for instance, you see here, you can see a picture of the pole which is not in the ground. Okay, so we need to calibrate and we need to use a picture in which we are sure that the pole is resting in the ground. Okay, so in this way, never use these two examples here, okay, because it's not perpendicular. Additionally, here we don't know if the pole is resting in the ground or not, and here, as you can see, the pole is not resting in the ground. Then we need to repeat this. We need to put the pole in front of the camera at a different distance from more than 1 meter to let's say 10 meters or even 15. It depends of the field of view of the camera. If the camera is placed in a relative open areas with a wide field of view, let's say 15, 20 meters, for instance, we can put this reference, or we can put the pole at, yes, 15 or 20 meters. If we are in a dense vegetation habitat or sampling point in which we will never see the plot far away than, let's say, 7 meters, we will only calibrate, or we will only put the pole from 1 to 7 meters. Okay. This is also important that the pole cover the location of the pole covers, as we can see here, all the field of view of the camera. So please avoid, for instance, in like this plot represent, to put only the plot far away of the camera, or to put only the plot very close to the camera, especially if this area here is open and we will potentially record some individuals or some animals crossing the field of view in this part. And also avoid to place the pole in a very few placements, for instance, 3, 4, or 5, okay? So I recommend in the field to put the pole around 20 times in 20 different locations, 1 meter apart. This is also important, because if we put the pole very close, let's say 20 centimeters or something like that, from one side to the other, then we are calibrating exactly the same location. It's better to put the pole more than 1 meter in relation with the previous location of the pole, and covering homogeneously all the field of view of the camera. Okay, and as I saying, it's important to place the pole around 20 times in the field, because then when we process the picture in Agouti, we will show that some of these locations we will be not useful because we are outside of the field of view, or because we are behind of a tree or whatever. So if we put on the field around 25 times, we will finally probably have around 15 or 20 useful location of the pole, okay, which is a good or which is the recommended sampling site to subsequently apply photogrammetry. Okay. I said before to place the pole at more or less 1 meter from the camera, because if we place the pole very close to the camera, for instance, 20 centimeters, we will see only one of these as maximum. But we need, as we will see in the coming slide, we need at least 2 marks of the pole. Okay. So please avoid to put the pole closer than 1 meter in the camera. And here you have an example of a good set of calibration pole pictures from a deployment. As you can see, we have pictures, especially the bottom one, very close to the camera. Here we have some location of the pole relative far away from the camera. As you can see, we have some of them in the left side of the picture, for instance, this one and also this one. Other in the center of the field of view, this one and this one. And other in the right side of the field of view, for instance, this one or this one or this one. So essentially, calibrate all the field of view, all the sides, left side and right side, the center also for sure, and from relative close distance to far away, 10, 15 meters more or less, as a general rule of thumb, okay? And not only once, we also recommend so we go to the field, we place the camera, we choose the placement, we place the camera, we do the calibration, and we come back, let's say 1 month later to check the memory cards and the battery. So when we come back 1 month or 2 months later, we also recommend to repeat the process before checking the cards or the cards or the batteries. Okay, so we do a calibration at the beginning of the sampling period, let's say, and we do also another calibration at the finish or at the end of the sampling period. In this way, let's think that during the sampling period an animal moves the camera, then we can use the calibration at the beginning for all the period between when we place the camera and when the animal moves the camera, and then after the animal moves the camera, we can use the calibration that we do at the end of the sampling period to apply photogrammetry to all these pictures. Okay, so we recommend to calibrate the deployment at the beginning and at the end, or when we check the batteries and the memory cards on each camera, okay, or each deployment. Some habitual errors. So the first one, this one, as you can see, the calibration pole is in the other way. So remember, the one mark it will be always close to the closest mark to the ground, and then 2 marks, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so note in this way, Another common error is the one that you can see here, in where the upper mark, which actually are the more relevant to calibrate the deployment, are partially covered. Okay, so please avoid to cover the marks. So hold the pole from this side, or where or from this side between marks, but never cover the mark with your hands or and then other typical error is to place the pole very close to the camera. For instance, you can see here one example in which the ball is very close to the camera, so we can only see one reference. In this case, 60 centimeter reference. These type of pictures are not useful to calibrate the deployment. Okay, so we have placed the camera in the field. We have calibrated around 30 times in the field. We have come back to the sampling point. We have calibrated again the deployment, and we have download the picture from the memory card and upload to Agouti. So when this is a screenshot from the Agouti, so when we are in Agouti and we saw this type of picture that is a point in front of the camera, we should mark this sequence as a deployment calibration. Okay, we have different options: animal, blank, vehicle, unknown, whatever. We should mark or indicate that this is a sequence in we are calibrating the deployment. Okay, so when we click in deployment calibration, then automatically Agouti show us these two options, which are top of the stick and bottom of the stick. This is top of the pole, bottom of the pole. And we should, or we have to indicate the height in meters. This is also important, okay? So we will mark always the upper, as I mentioned before, we will put the bottom of the stick and the top, of the stick. So in this case, for instance, the bottom is easy, 20 centimeters. The upper as you can see here, we have only four marks. So in this case, the top of the stick is 80 centimeters. Okay. So here another example. You can see here that we can zoom in the Agouti in Agouti. You can zoom the picture and put this black point in the limit, as I mentioned before, in the top limit of each group of marks. Okay, so in this case, we have four marks, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we know that the height of this mark, which is the top in this case, is 0.8 meters. Okay, and we mark the bottom of the stick. Again, we can zoom the picture and put the black dot, just clicking in the image. We click and we indicate that this click is it indicates 0.2 meters. That is 20 centimeters from the ground. When we have to calibrate a picture, we need to calibrate the picture, as I mentioned before, when the pole is perpendicular, important, and resting on the ground. So when you are moving from one calibration point to the other, we don't need to calibrate the pole. Okay, we need to calibrate those pictures in which the pole is perpendicular and resting on the ground. Obviously, when at least two marks are visible, so we will calibrate the lower one and the upper one. And another important point is that cameras, as Tancredi explained before, cameras are set in burst mode. We have multiple or more than one picture of the pole exactly in the same position, in the same location. So we have the pole exactly in the same location because we have a batch of pictures. We need to calibrate only one of them. Okay, so we need to calibrate. So to repeat, we calibrate a picture when the pole is perpendicular and resting on the ground, when at least two marks are visible, and when the ball is moved from one location to the other. Okay, so don't calibrate two pictures with the ball exactly in the same location. So finally, just to review all the process, so to apply Photogrammetry with calibration ball, you have the video how to make your own calibration ball. We need to calibrate the camera, model, the device, and the observatory team will help you and will provide you this information. And we need to calibrate the deployment, which obviously this is something that you have to do in each deployment. Then, combining these three process, we apply photogrammetry. We will see I think that David will explain us how to track the animal position. Then we track the animal position, and with this information, we estimate population density. So I'm in time, and I'm happy to answer any question. And if you have questions in the future, you can also email me.
Thank you, Pablo. I think it was very, very clear. So we have time for questions. If you have
I see
questions.
one question. Yeah, a question in the chat window is the calibration of each camera model is dependent of the camera height? No. I mean, when we calibrate a camera model and the camera also the picture quality, but let's say the camera model, this calibration is useful for this camera placed at any height or in any placement. Okay. So the calibration already in Agouti are for 50 centimeters? No, the calibration in Agouti are useful for 50 centimeters, but also for 20 centimeters or 80 or I mean, any height. Any more questions? No.
It seems not. It was
Okay.
very clear.
Yeah.
But, you have time to think about and save
Yeah,
questions
for sure.
for the last
Mm.
time in the morning. So maybe we can anticipate the next presentation, which is going to be done by Davide Carniato from IREC.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Massimo, for presentation.
Please, Davide.
If you want, I can share my screen. I don't know if it's. Let's see.
So
You
this
can see
part is
my
anticipated.
PowerPoint.
Sorry, Davide. This part is anticipated is an overview of the next steps. That will be the main topic for the second part of the training that will be held in September. So this is just an anticipation to give a full overview of the process and the steps for data collection and analysis. But this specific part will be described in detail in the second training in September. Sorry, David.
Thank you, Massimo. You can see the PowerPoint presentation now?
No, I can't.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Now, yes?
Now it's opening. Okay. Yes, now we can see.
Okay. Thank you very much, Massimo. As Massimo said, this is only a general overview of the Agouti analysis and the next analysis of the data for density estimation. So we will see not in deep the workflow of Agouti and then the analysis in RStudio to estimate density with the random encounter middle method. So starting from the first topic, and to follow how Pablo said before, why we can use photogrammetry for the wildlife density estimation. In the past, as Pablo said, all the parameters were estimated manually with the natural marks in the field, and this method was quite slow and energy demanding, because all the people that use this method know how much time is needed to estimate and calculate parameters manually from the photos. So with the evolution of the technology, we developed a new application that we will see, that is Agouti from the Wageningen University and the IMBO University, that is very useful to automatize on this estimation from photos. So the answers was what we need. We need an automatic classification for species that is very useful to a rapid classification of species of thousands of photos. And then we need a program, an application that have photogrammetry implementation, because we have a lot of application that can classify, but only Agouti can estimate, for example, daily range velocity for species, as we will see later. And then the possibility to extract data, that we will see how can we download data from Agouti to import in RStudio and then analyze for the random encounter middle method. Starting for the general information about the application, as I said before, we have a lot of applications that are useful to classify with the artificial intelligence the photos of wildlife photos from camera trapping studies. But only one for now is implemented with photogrammetry for estimate velocity and other parameters that are useful and very important to the random encounter middle method. So This is Agouti, that is developed by Wageningen University and the IMBO Research Institute, and is easily find on Google. You can type agouti.eu, and this is an online free application that everybody can use without any cost. So when you enter in the application, firstly, you have to create your account. It's very easily with an email and a password. You can create an account. If you can see, this is the main page of the application, and I'm logged in with my account, as you can see upper right on the web page. And then once you are logged in, you can go to your dashboard. That is this orange button on the lower part, where you can find all the projects where you are available and when you are working in the photos. Okay, so when you create your project about your study area, when you are working with different projects, all the projects are available in your dashboard. Just to recap the workflow about camera trapping studies, we started with the fieldwork, as Tancredi showed us before. Then when you remove the camera from the field, you have a lot of SD cards with the photos. Then with the photos, you have to import in Agouti. So we start with Agouti workflow that is composed by 4 steps. The import is very easily, we will see later, is with the new version of Agouti is only drag and drop in the deployments. So from your SD card, you have to upload your photo in the Agouti application. And then we have the 2 parts of analysis that we can see from the slide are the 2 tasks that need more time. So annotate that for, luckily, now we have the help of the artificial intelligence that help us to classify all the photos. But as you can, as we will see later, the artificial intelligence is not perfect, so we will have to see the photos and to prove that is well classified, and then analyze. So you have to track the velocity for animals and to estimate speed and daily range. And then the last step, very easily, is to export data from Agouti to analyze in RStudio and estimate with random encounter model method. So as I told you before, this is the page of your dashboard. So if you are logged in with your account, here, for example, is my account, and these are all my projects opened in Agouti. So each project is referred to a study area or more study areas. As we will see later, you can put different study area in the same project, specifying locations. So you can enter into a project, and then you will find this general menu. It's very easy. It's quite friendly application. I will show you only a general overview of this menu, and in September you will have a detailed course training to how to use Agouti. For example, we can see the first, that is overview, that where we can find general description of the project and the study area. You can put information like where is located the study area and general description about the project. This information can be public or not, as you want. Then we have location, where we can put the coordinates of the study area. This is important. It's not the coordinate of the camera, but it's only the study area. So where is located the study area? Then we have the deployments, that I think one of the most important part of the menu, where we have all the photos organized by camera. So we have a lot of rows, as we will see later, and each row is referred at one camera. Okay. Then we have observation, when we have a single observation about a sequence, you know that sequences refer consecutive photos that are not spaced more than 2 minutes into one of and the second. And here we can filter and navigate through all observation. Then we have a species list menu where we can upload list species to find during the classification our species referred to our study area. Then we have other part of the menu that are cameras, user, and setting that is important only at the beginning of the project. So we have to put information about the project with the cameras. It's not mandatory, but we can put all the camera number identification to identify better all the cameras. Then users menu where we can modify and add profiles, so people that can or don't or cannot work into the project. Then we have setting. There's something to put in the setting, like the type of artificial intelligence that is used to classify photos, and other things useful to have more precise information about the project. And then the last but not the least, the exported data. That is the menu where you can download information after classification and analysis of the photo. Starting with location, as I told you here, you can you have to put, because it's mandatory, the location of the study area. You have to put a longitude and latitude for each study area. For example, in this project, I have 3 study area. And this is mandatory because when you are going to upload photo, the program asks you from a location to identify where the photo comes from. This is the other part, the deployments. As I told you, deployments is a camera. Each deployment is a camera. Here in this page, you can see that we can see some information about the deployment, like the location, the operativity, the start and end, the number of sequences, and then we have the tags that are like information that we can put to know better in which camera we are talking. And then the last part, that is this bar of percentage that inform us how many of the photos are classified by us and how many from the artificial intelligence. The gray part is the automatic classification, and then the green part is manual classification. And then the annotate button, that is the orange one, where we can enter to each camera to work with the photos, like we will see after. This is the observation part. As I told you, in this part you can navigate and filter all the observation. Obviously, this part will be available after you will have classified the photos. So here we can find different information from each observation. As you can see, the first part, the first 3 columns are codes. Agouti put codes, unique codes for different datas. For example, deployment ID, that is a unique code for each camera. Observation ID, that is a unique code for for one observation, and sequence ID. So these codes are very important for the next analysis, as we will see later. Then we can find species and the study area and the type of artificial intelligence that we use and the person that validate or classify the photo. And this is the page and the visualization of the photo. This is a sequence. So from deployment menu, we enter in annotate of one camera, one deployment, and this is the image that we will see. We have different instruments to navigate into the sequence. For example, we have the back and next that is useful to move between sequences. Then to move between photos in the same sequence, we have these two arrows. Also, easily we can move the mouse along all the photos here in this part, in the lower part. Okay. And then we have this instrument upper left that are useful specifically in the darker photo and the the photo in the night to move the contrast and the light to see better the animal. Okay, so we have different instruments to navigate the photo and to see better the animal present in the photo. And this part of deployment calibration was well showed by Pablo, so I think I don't have to do and to say nothing more. Always only to mark deployment calibration and to act like Pablo showed before. And this is a sequence, for example, that was classified automatically by the artificial intelligence. We can prove that was automatically by this symbol at the right of the species name, Suscrofa. In this case, the artificial intelligence was right, and the artificial intelligence is capable to classify species and number. So the number of animals that go in front of the camera, in this case, to wild boars, and this is correct. So when you are reviewing the photos, the sequences, if the artificial intelligence classified well the photos, you don't have to do nothing, only to mark the track of the animals. If not, with the pencil, with the instrument that we have here, right, and observation, you can modify the classification. You can modify the classification like this. For example, you can enter into the observation and then you can change the species and the amount of animal that go in front of the camera. And then when you are into the observation, you can mark the track of the animal. As you can see from this photo, you have to choose a part of the animal, the hand, for example, that go into the soil. So you have to choose one of the right of the left is independent. Okay, and you can mark always the animal touch the ground. Okay, so you move into the photos and whenever when the animal touch the ground with the same end, you can mark with the left click and create the tracking. Okay, but this is this information we will go deeply in the seminar of September. So don't worry if it's not very clear, but will be very easy to understand. So when you have revised all the species and the amount of the animal, and when you have tracked the animal, so how many meters he do in front of the camera, you can save the observation and you can go to the next sequence. Going in the other part of the menu, like I said before, in the species list, you have to add the species list for adding all the species that are present in your study area to find all you need when you are classifying manually the sequences. In this case, we use Western Europe, for example. But if you need other species that are not present in the list, you can add manually from add single species. So you can find these new species in the list. Okay. This is a very brief test that we did here in IREC. So we test the artificial intelligence, two of them that are present in Agouti, and how are good in classificate species. You can see that the percentage of good classification is very good, but only to remind you, you have to review all the sequences because can be false classification of animals. And this is the last part of exporting data. When you have classified and tracked all the animals that you are interested in, you can go to export data and create export with the orange button. So the program are estimating parameters and create a zip file to download. Okay, so you can easily download. And in the zip file, we will find these four files. That is the data package, that is a JSON file, and 3 Excel CSV file. Okay, this is an example of the observation file. We can find different information that are mandatory to estimate density with the RAM method, and then we can find all the information about the deployment and the sequence in the event. So all the hierarchical information. As I told you before, for each information is present a unique code that is useful to us to join different databases and to have a complete information. So for this first part about Agouti, only to remind you that online tutorials are available on the EOW website. So you can find some of the videos of previous meeting when it's well explained how to use Agouti and other informations. Then we can skip to the analysis part. Even this part is only a general overview about the analysis that we have to do after Agouti analysis. Only to do a brief recap about the method. As Pablo and Tancredi said before, the random encounter method is used to estimate density of unmarked animals. To estimate this density, we have to use different parameters that are evaluated and exported from Agouti, and then we have to use R and RStudio to calculate the density with a script that is done by Marcus Rockcliffe. We will see here, as you saw before, the formula of the random encounter model method, only to show that all the parameters that we need to estimate density with this method are present in the data exported from Agouti. The three parameters like the encounter number, the daily range, and the detection zone radius and angle are present in the observation file. And then the operativity of the camera is present in both deployment and observation. But the important things is that all this information are present in the data package, that is where all the information are stored, and it's very easy to use that data package with the new script to estimate density. Okay, so you don't have to open all the files. You have only to use the data package with the new script to estimate density very easily. The script is present on the GitHub repository. All the information are present in the website. And if you need some information, if you are not able to find the script, I think you can write to Tancredi or me or other people of other staff of European Observatory managers. So here you can find the script. Is in this case is the cam trap density example .r. And only to see what is present inside the script and how to use, I will show you briefly which is the workflow about this script. The first part is to install packages and libraries. That is you need to do this part only the first time that you will use the script. Then you have to upload libraries. You have to do all the times that you open R. Then you have to load data. As I told you, you have only to load data package file. This present on the screen, and then you can check the datas, and the calibration deployment, because it's important to check the data. If there's errors on the camera traps, it's important to modify the data and to put the correct data. And then you have to check the deployment calibration, because as Pablo said before, you have to do at least 15-20 deployment calibration poll for each camera. And if you have few calibration, this check tell you that maybe this camera is better to remove from the analysis because is poor calibrated. Then there is the density estimation. With this automatic function, you can easily estimate density. That is the more important things in this analysis. And then we can, with the other part, evaluate model fits. You can evaluate all the single parameters from the REM model, the activity, the radius, and the angle to see more deeply how these parameters are affecting the density. And then the last, we can download the density estimation and all the parameters that are needed for the further analysis of the European Observatory. That is very important for the analysis and the publication of the reports. And this is the export of the analysis done in R. If you can see, we have different parameters that are fundamental for our statistics. The trapping rate, the daily range, the effective and radius and angle, the density, which is standard error and coefficient of variation, and the number of sequences. As you can see, we have different study areas with all the parameters. It's very important that you upload all the parameters, because they are all important for our analysis. And these are all one of analysis that they are done in the EU Observatory of Wildlife. We can do a statistic and other type of analysis of tables and graphics. So it's very important that all the parameters are present in the data extracted from RStudio, from the analysis. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm available to question if you have.
Thank you, Davide. for this explanation. This is it was just an overview, but quite informative. So, and it was very clear. So, I don't know. I cannot see if there are raised hands.
There is a question in the chat.
There is a question in the chat. Davide, can you see the chat?
Yes. What's
What's happening when
I
I use? Yeah. Okay. What's
think
happening
I
when I
cannot.
use this
I can.
subsetting deployment function? Are my data clipped according to the selected period, or I lost deployments and as a consequence cameras?
No, when you're subsetting, you are clipping your data for the species. So you are grouping your data for the species to analyze one species for each analysis. So you are not lost your data. I think I cannot see the chat from this.
There is a question by Pedro Girotti. Can artificial intelligence count the animals in a single photo, or during an event, an animal or group of animals exiting and entering the field of view of the camera trap?
Yeah, this is important question. I think, as I told you, the artificial intelligence is very good for us because help us to classify photos more rapidly, but it's not perfect. And count of animals, is implemented, so artificial intelligence can count animals not only in the same photo but in the sequence. So animals that exit the field of view and enter another time as are counted twice. But I think that till now the error of counting animals is quite high. So take care with the artificial intelligence classification of how many animals are in the sequence. So you have to revise and to check that the number that artificial intelligence put in the classification is correct, more than the species. So the species is quite good. The only problem I think is with cervids, with red deer, roe deer, and fallow deer, that are the more similar and problematic species. But for the count, especially with the big groups of red deer, for example, is not very precise. So you have to revise always.
Okay, great. Thanks, Davide.
Thank you, Davide. I
Thank you too.
leave the floor to Tancredi because I must apologize, but I have to go to teach. So I greet everybody and wish you a very successful data collection in this campaign of the observatory. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, Massimo. So there's another question. So saying if we're asking whether there is a minimum distance between sites of camera deployment, and well, there's no minimum distance. So that depends on the study site and the number of camera points that you are going to set up. So usually we are suggesting ideally study sites of the size from between 2,000 and 6,000 hectares, but that's not necessarily a rule. We're trying to standardize the study site features. And also we are suggesting the number of deployments. So according to that, you're going to have then a resulting distance between camera deployment, but there's no fixed distance, either minimum or maximum, that has to be respected. Of course, there's a minimum number of camera points, so consequently there's kind of maximum distance with respect to the study site size. So hope that answer the question. So I don't know if there is any other question. If not, so I hope that the presentations were clear enough. And anyway, we are going to share with you soon all the PowerPoints that have been used today, together with the registration, with the recordings of the presentations themselves, and together with protocol. Once again, you probably already have it, but we'll share it once again, the file of the protocol, so where you can find most of the information that we share today. We are quite in advance with respect to the schedule. We've been faster than we thought. So, well, this last part was left for questions and the next steps, but we decided to move this very couple of slides about next steps at the first part of the course, just to make sure that everyone could see them in case someone might have to leave earlier. So I'm not gonna repeat that. Just I mean, I'm not gonna share the slides again. Just yeah, we want to remind to all those that collected data in 2023 to try and provide results as soon as possible. And yes, to everyone, to just let's all speed up the process of agreement signing, so that we can move on with the next steps and start planning the actual fieldwork. So I think that probably I forgot to mention is to whenever we start planning the study design and so on, to share that with us, so that we can check together whether the design is correct, and if there's the need to change something, and yeah, discuss the details. And also we will need to have the shape files for repository where we can store all the information for each study site. This is going to be fundamental for then having further analysis. So this was kind of it. If there's no further question or doubt, I want to thank you all for participating. And as always, we are available. I am available, and the team is, for any question, doubt, and clarification. And so there's one more question. So if I have a group of animals, should I mark them all? Yes. So, but as previously mentioned, all this Agouti part and analysis part is going to be seen in detail in the September training course. So I'll just quickly answer that, because then otherwise, without some of the details, this might be not fully comprehensible. However, when you're gonna have, like, let's say 1,000 sequences for a certain species, let's say roe deer, and basically you're not gonna have to mark them all, to digitize them all, but we suggest a minimum of 150 sequences digitized per target species. So let's say you want to digitize those 150. You're going to have to select those sequences randomly, and you can do that by filtering within the observation page of Agouti, filtering by sequence ID. This is gonna list them in a random order, basically. And then you can start digitizing from top until you get to the 105th sequence. In whichever sequence is going to be in this group, so that have more animals, if you digitize one of those animals, so you're going to have to digitize them all. And so you're going to need to have separated observation for each of those individuals. But as I said, all these things are going to be explained in detail in September. And so we will, you are going to have all the necessary details about that. Okay, hope that answered the question anyway. One more question is, for the density calculation, all pictures of the identified animals are used, or just the animals with a track? So basically, all the sequences are used to calculate the encounter rate. So each sequence that had been identified is going to be taken into account, regardless of it being digitized or not. The digitizing procedure is fundamental for the estimates of the day range parameter and the camera trap detection parameters. So for the estimates of these two parameters, you are only going to use the sequences that have been digitized, because those are the sequences that are going to provide information about day range and camera detection parameters. But for the density calculation, so for the trapping rate, all the sequences for that certain species are going to be considered. Hope that answered the question. So if we have just one picture but not a sequence, then it can be used for the calculation, correct? Yes, definitely. I mean, as I said, each sequence, each animal that has been counted, regardless of it being a single frame or a sequence, or whether there was actually tracked, so digitized or tracked, which is the same, or not, that that animal is going to be counted anyway. But if it is not digitized, that sequence won't be used for the estimation of day range and camera detection parameters. And yes, so, but as I said, all these issues are going to be then seen in depth in September. And so, yeah, you're welcome. So if there's no other question, I thank you all once again. And as I said, we'll get back to you with all the information from the course. And yes, if then you realize that you missed something, that you have further doubts, don't hesitate to contact me and the team. We can then give you the lacking information, or if needed, we can arrange a meeting to further discuss whatever is needed. And so thank you all very much. and have a nice rest of the day. And yeah, we'll be in touch for all the next steps. Bye, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Tancredi. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.